We are on episode 21 of Tales from the Darkside. This one's called Strange Love, and it's about vampires. It takes place in 1935. It feels very much like a Hammer horror tale that were made in the 50s. Creepy atmosphere and actually a really good set design that feels very open. A doctor by the name of Philip Carroll is called on by a man named Edmund to help fix the broken leg of his wife, the very beautiful Mary Elcott.
Dr. Carroll, I'm sorry to disturb you at this ungodly hour, but there's been an accident. My wife has broken her leg.
Little does Mr. Carroll know that this will be the last patient he will ever see, since Edmund wants him to stay with him, Anne Marie. And after he helps nurse her leg back to health, both Edmund, the vampire, and Marie, also a vampire, are going to kill him. As I mentioned, I really like the set design. It feels very open, and there's a balcony that's always within shot that you know is going to play a large part in the episode later. While you only see one room, you can tell that the vampire couple is very, very rich and have had centuries find the best antiques to adorn this room in colors of white. Edmund uses this balcony to turn into a bat and go get food during the night, leaving Marie, his wife, and Dr. Philip Carroll alone, which is something we find out a huge mistake since they begin to fall in love with each other. Now, it's not very clear exactly how the doctor is helping her leg. We see that she's kind of lying down on this propped up bed most of the time, and anytime she tries to walk, she hobbles around. But, they get to talking, caressing, kissing, smooching, some might say, touching.
Since he made me a vampire? Just after the Civil War?
That's incredible.
I asked him to take me. I must be so careful. Stop.
And Marie realizes she would rather be with this doctor. He has a good stable job. He doesn't go out and kill people every night. And she has had it with Edmund constantly telling her what to do and keeping her, as they say, in the shadows. Now, I like the story to this one, but what is really lacking is some good action scenes. They try. Mr. Philip Carroll tries to fight with the vampire Edmund. The episode is trying to show us that Edmund is much stronger than he is, but we get a really terribly choreographed fight scene where the doctor is flinging this chain around and trying to hit the vampire, and then the vampire just kind of grabs his arm and twists it. This needed some better choreography, which is something we're not going to see very much in Tales from the Darkside. Anytime there is anything like action, it looks like they came up with it on the spot. They ran out of time. They don't have any kung fu fight scenes. They don't have any people throwing stakes at each other. So while the episode is well acted and believable, for as believable as a story like this can be, the two action scenes you see are quite bad and are going to knock it down a peg, as they say. The vampire Edmund is played by Harsh Nayar, who I remember seeing as the news vendor in 1997's Men in Black. He was also in Gandhi and Hidalgo. And his wife Maria Elcott is played by Marisha Cross, who was in 180 episodes of Desperate Housewives. She plays a minxy little sexpot in this episode, and then 20 years later, she's on Desperate Housewives doing the same thing. This girl just can't get enough. You gotta beat her off with the stick. But Marie does have a way that she can help this doctor take on Edmund. She can make him into a vampire, and then he will somehow have the powers to fight this vampire who says he's been around since the foundation of this country, 1776 to be exact. So maybe the vampire just got a little lazy and wasn't practicing his vampire skills, because he kind of gets his ass kicked by this doctor who's been a vampire for one day. And the doctor and Marie get to live together happily ever after. I'm going to give Strange Love a 5. It is a high 5. I'm tempted to give it a 6, but there's just a few parts where I started laughing at the episode, which is never a good sign when they battle. The first time and even the second time when the doctor wins, we get an obligatory stake through the heart, but it just happens so fast. and there's no real build-up or explanation of why he's able to take on this centuries-old vampire. That's it for this episode. Next up is episode 22, Unhappy Medium, about a televangelist. Check out our playlist for all episodes of Fear Itself, Monsters, Tales from the Darkside, and Cowboy Bebop in order. Thanks a lot.
For a long time, have an emotional stare of the wrong kind without letting attention. Got bands of aggression, it's so normal. We all know it's normal. Say to